Happy Wednesday, crew! Today we are going to continue with our discussion about how we interpret the Constitution. We have two agenda items. The first thing we are going to tackle today, you are going to complete the originalism versus living Constitution document analysis and submit. It looks like this. I'm going to break down exactly what I expect in a moment. The directions on the document say, the following documents represent a variety of opinions about how we ought to interpret the Constitution. Your task is to read, annotate, and analyze each document and answer the response questions. Be sure to use all of your tools to better understand the documents, including defining tough words, rewording complex phrases, writing questions and connections in the columns. I will demonstrate that to you in just a moment. Stay tuned. After you do this first task, and it's going to take the majority of today and submit it, don't forget to submit, I want you to really quickly look over the schedule for tomorrow. In order to wrap up today and yesterday's activity, and these are both pretty challenging topics, I want to check in with each class for 10 to 15 minutes at the start of our normal class time. So the schedule is posted on Schoology in our overview just below this video. So go and check to make sure that you are looking at the right information at the right time. I will post a Zoom link at the time in the morning for you guys to have access to as a class to come to our sort of digital meetup. So again, check in the folder. That's where you'll find it. All right, so back to task number 1. Our document analysis activity. Is the Constitution really dead or alive? Yesterday during the video, you learned all about these two concepts, living constitutionalism versus originalism. Overwhelmingly, you guys did a fantastic job in that Edpuzzle, and the majority of my classes agree that the Constitution is in fact alive, meaning that it has adapted and changed over time to meet new circumstances, right? While originalism, on the other hand, is the belief that the words in the Constitution should be interpreted as they were understood at the time they were written, 18th century concepts. This is our toolkit. So we're going to apply this toolkit today and look at a variety of opinions about these two concepts. So let's practice. Document 4 is Justice Stephen Breyer. He wrote this in 2010. I'm going to model, using a think aloud, how I would tackle this complex text. So as always with social studies, I start by doing a source analysis. Justice Stephen Breyer. Who is he? Let's do some background. That's him. I Googled him, and then I put his picture on there. Yes, you can do that for all of your sources if you'd like. I like to know sort of who I'm dealing with. I don't know why. I just do. And then I did a little more digging. And yes, I used Wikipedia. What? I used Wikipedia! And I found out that he was appointed to the Supreme Court in 1994 by Bill Clinton. He is often known as a sort of left-leaning Supreme Court justice. He is known as being quite liberal, meaning very democratic, very blue. Okay, so I know who's talking then, and that kind of helps me put this into context. So I'm going to read it once, then I'm going to dissect it. So my first read through. We require a constitution that works well for the people today. The court should reject approaches to interpreting the Constitution that consider the document's scope and application as fixed at the moment of framing. Rather, the court should regard the Constitution as containing unwavering values that must be applied flexibly to ever-changing circumstances. The court must consider not just how 18th century Americans used a particular phrase, but also how the values underlying that phrase apply today to circumstances perhaps then inconceivable. Whoa, remember, primary sources are like onions. They have layers, so let's start peeling them back. First sentence, we require a constitution. Simple enough. That works well for the people today. Just a thought. Today is kind of a dead giveaway. Maybe a living constitutionalist, right? If he's mentioning today and not back then, maybe he likes today. That's just my little connection here. The court should reject approaches to interpreting the Constitution that consider the document's scope and application as fixed at the moment of framing, meaning the framing of the Constitution, the founding fathers, right? Rather, the court should regard the Constitution as containing unwavering. Interesting, it's bolded. I bet that means Mrs. Lopez wants me to define it. Unwavering means that these bold words must be defined. So what did I do? I Googled it. And it's an adjective, meaning steady or resolute. So let's reread it with that new word in there. Rather, the court should regard the Constitution as containing steady values. Okay, so like consistent, strong, steady values that must be applied flexibly. Okay. Side note, up here, when they say the court, and he capitalized C here, I also put a little note here, meaning SC, Supreme Court, right? These are my notes, so they don't have to look just like yours, but this is how I pull apart those onions, those primary sources. Okay, back to where I was. Unwavering values that must be applied flexibly. So steady, resolute, strong values. Kind of reminds me of like the values in the Declaration of Independence, maybe. That should be applied flexibly to ever-changing circumstances. The court must consider not just how 18th century Americans used a particular phrase, but also how the values underlying that phrase apply today to circumstances perhaps then, meaning like back then, inconceivable. Wait, that's another word? It's not bolded, so Mrs. Lopez didn't bold it, but I don't know the meaning of it. That means not able to predict. Oh, so sort of like coronavirus. Does the Constitution mention that? Nope. Does it mention semi-automatic weapons? Nope. Russian hacking? Nope. Right? So, the fact that these circumstances were not conceivable, if we told George Washington about Russian hacking on Facebook, he would be very confused. Would you agree? Okay. So, the question is, according to Breyer, how should the Constitution be applied to our world today? Oh, thank God. I've dissected this whole document. I've written all of these different annotations to pull it apart like an onion, so now I feel like I've got it. Breyer believes that the values contained in the Constitution are important. They're strong. They're unwavering. And that they should be applied flexibly to ever-changing circumstances. In other words, because our society has changed a great deal since the Constitution was written, we should apply the values of the document while also respecting the needs of the citizens today. Okay. He sounds like, to me, a living constitutionalist. Now, you are going to do this exactly for the documents on the activity. Good news, this document is on there. So you can literally copy my notes I just gave you to that document as a starting point, as a key. But this is the level of annotation I expect today. Remember, primary sources are like onions. They need to be peeled back layer by layer. You can doodle, you can highlight, you can underline, write questions, define those tough words. All of it will help you understand, I promise. Okay, to review. You're going to complete the originalism versus living constitution document analysis and submit. Looks like this. Then you're going to double check to make sure your times are all set for tomorrow for our quick 10 to 15 minute check-in. Good luck. You've got this. Email me if you have any questions. You may